The crimson dust of Helios Prime swirled around Marcus Reed's boots as he faced down the towering figure of Overlord Draxus. The alien warlord's obsidian armor caught the light of the triple suns, making him look like a creature forged from darkness itself. Marcus tightened his grip on his plasma sword, wondering how a simple security contract had turned into a ritual combat for leadership of an entire star system. "Your species' arrogance ends here, human." Draxus's voice boomed through his helmet's synthesizer. "None have survived the trial of ascension." Marcus managed a tight smile, even as sweat trickled down his neck inside his battle suit. "There's a first time for everything." The gathered crowd of humans and aliens formed a perfect circle around them, their silence heavy with anticipation. Among them, Marcus spotted his longtime friend and fellow mercenary, Raven Torres, her expression a mixture of concern and determination. She had warned him about taking this contract, but neither of them could have predicted this outcome. Draxus moved with surprising speed for his size, his energy blade humming through the air where Marcus's head had been a moment before. Marcus rolled, using his smaller size to his advantage, and struck at the Overlord's knee joint. The blow connected, sending sparks flying, but the armor held. "Impressive," Draxus rumbled, but futile. The battle continued, a deadly dance of light and shadow. Marcus found himself drawing on every lesson learned during his years as a mercenary, every trick picked up in countless bar fights and back alley brawls. Draxus was stronger, better armed, and had the advantage of his sophisticated battle armor. But Marcus had something the Overlord didn't expect: experience fighting dirty. As Draxus launched another powerful attack, Marcus deliberately stumbled, appearing to lose his footing in the loose red sand. The Overlord pressed his advantage, exactly as Marcus had hoped. At the last possible moment, Marcus dropped and rolled, using a handful of Helios Prime's metallic sand to throw into Draxus' optical sensors. The crowd gasped as Draxus roared in surprise and anger, his attacks becoming wild and unfocused. Marcus seized his chance, ducking under a wide swing and driving his plasma sword up through a gap in the Overlord's armor. The blade found its mark, and Draxus froze mid-motion. For a moment, everything was still. Then, slowly, the mighty Overlord toppled backward, his armor creating a dull boom as it hit the ground. Marcus stood, breathing heavily, barely able to believe what had just happened. The silence stretched on until a tall, ethereal figure stepped forward from the crowd. High Priestess Nyxis, her silver skin shimmering in the sunlight, raised her staff. "The trial is complete," her melodious voice carried across the arena. "By the ancient laws of the Helios Concordat, Marcus Reed now assumes all rights, responsibilities, and obligations of the fallen Overlord." Marcus nodded, trying to look dignified despite his exhaustion. "I accept the responsibility of leadership," he said, reciting the words Raven had drilled into him before the combat. "All of them." Nyx's expression was unreadable. "Yes, all of." Marcus trailed off as four figures emerged from the crowd to stand beside the High Priestess. His eyes widened as he took in their appearance. The first two were luminary, their bodies seeming to glow from within, their silver skin marked with intricate patterns of light. The other two were shadowkin, their dark purple skin adorned with constellation-like markings that shifted and moved. All four wore the ceremonial robes that marked them as high-ranking members of their respective species. "Then you accept your duty to take Overlord Draxus's 4 wives as your own, as our laws demand?" Nyxis asked, a hint of amusement in her voice. Marcus felt the blood drain from his face as Raven's barely suppressed laughter reached his ears. His wives. The 4 alien women regarded him with expressions ranging from curiosity to careful assessment. The taller of the luminaries stepped forward, her light patterns pulsing gently. "I am Solara," she said, her voice like chimes in the wind. "First wife of the Overlord. Now your first wife, if you would have us." "I'm honored, but I don't." Marcus began, but Nyxis cut him off. "The law is absolute. To reject this duty would be to reject your victory, forfeit your life, and shame these noble women." The penalty would be severe. Marcus looked from Nyx's to the four wives, then to Raven, who had managed to control her laughter long enough to give him a thumbs up. Finally, he sighed and squared his shoulders. If he could defeat an alien overlord in ritual combat, he could figure out how to handle an unexpected marriage. Or four. Then I accept all duties and responsibilities, he said formally, bowing to his new wives. As the crowd erupted in cheers and the celebration began, Marcus couldn't shake the feeling that defeating Draxus might have been the easy part of his day. Solara and her sister wife, Luna, approached him with graceful movements, while the Shadowkin wives, Vesper and Nova, followed with their own fluid grace. Perhaps, Solara suggested, her light patterns shifting in what Marcus would later learn was amusement. We should discuss the other responsibilities you've inherited over dinner. Other responsibilities? Marcus asked weakly. Of course, Vesper spoke for the first time, her voice carrying the gentle darkness of a starlit night. You are now ruler of 3 star systems, commander of the largest mercenary fleet in the sector, and hereditary high priest of the eternal flame. Marcus shot another look at Raven, who was now leaning against a pillar, shoulders shaking with suppressed laughter. Some best friend she was turning out to be. I don't suppose there's a manual for all this, he asked hopefully. Better, Luna replied, her silver skin brightening with what seemed to be genuine warmth. You have us. The grand hall of the celestial citadel stretched before Marcus like something from a fever dream. Crystal spires rose impossibly high, their surfaces reflecting the light of Helios Prime's triple suns in cascading rainbows. He sat at the head of a massive table carved from what appeared to be a single piece of star metal, trying not to feel overwhelmed as his 4 new wives explained the complexities of his position. The mercenary fleet consists of 3 main battle groups, Vesper was saying, her constellation markings shifting as she manipulated a holographic display, each specialized for different types of warfare. And I'm supposed to command all of them? Marcus asked, rubbing his temples. The medical nanites had healed his injuries from the battle with Draxus, but they did nothing for the headache forming from information overload. With our guidance, Solara assured him, her silver skin pulsing with gentle light. I commanded the stealth division under Draxus. Nova led the heavy assault forces, while Luna specialized in diplomatic security. Marcus looked at the 4 extraordinary women seated around him. Each possessed skills and knowledge he desperately needed. And you're all okay with this arrangement? Being married to someone who just killed your previous husband. The 4 wives exchanged looks that seemed to carry entire conversations. Finally, Luna spoke, her voice soft but firm. Draxus was a political match chosen by the council. He was competent, but cruel. He saw us as possessions, symbols of his power. You defeated him not through superior technology or overwhelming force, Nova added, her purple skin seeming to absorb the light around her, but through wit and adaptability. These are traits our people respect. A servant entered, bowing deeply before placing a crystal decanter of iridescent liquid on the table. Solara poured 5 glasses with practiced grace. This is Starfire wine, she explained, passing Marcus a glass, traditionally shared between new mates to forge the first bonds of unity. Marcus took the glass carefully, noting how the liquid seemed to dance with its own inner light. I'm sensing there's more to this than just a drink. Vesper's constellation markings sparkled with amusement. The wine enhances empathic connections. It will help us understand each other on a deeper level. Empathic. You mean you'll be able to read my mind? Marcus set the glass down quickly. Not thoughts, Luna assured him. Only emotions, intentions. It's considered the foundation of trust in our culture. Raven chose that moment to saunter into the hall, having apparently charmed or intimidated her way past the guards. Having fun yet, boss? Shouldn't you be preparing the crew manifest? Marcus asked, grateful for the interruption. Already done, though I had to explain to them why their hard-as-nails mercenary captain is now taking etiquette lessons. She grinned wickedly. The betting pool on how long before you accidentally start an interstellar war is getting pretty impressive. Your friend's concern is understandable, Solara said diplomatically, but unnecessary. We have no intention of letting Marcus fail. Because if I fail, you fail, Marcus guessed. Because we believe in you, Nova corrected, her dark eyes intense. You showed honor and victory, sparing Draxus's life when you could have killed him. Mercy is rare in our sector. Marcus shifted uncomfortably. Speaking of Draxus, what happens to him now? By law, he is exiled, Vesper explained. His life was forfeit the moment he lost the trial, but your mercy allows him to leave with his life and a small ship. Most consider this a fate worse than death. And you don't think he'll try to come back for revenge. The four wives shared another of those meaningful looks. Let us worry about Draxus, Luna said softly. For now, you have more immediate concerns. As if on cue, a new hologram sprang to life above the table, showing a massive space station orbiting a gas giant. The Council of Elders expects you to address them tomorrow, Solara explained. They'll want assurances that the transition of power will be smooth. And if they're not convinced, then they may invoke the right of challenge, Nova said grimly, allowing other warlords to contest your claim. Marcus reached for the Starfire wine and took a careful sip. Warmth spread through him instantly, followed by a strange sensation of openness, as if walls he hadn't known existed were gently dissolving. I feel, he began. Us, Vesper finished, her own glass empty. As we feel you. Your determination, your uncertainty, your desire to do right by your new responsibilities. The sensation deepened, and Marcus found himself aware of four distinct presences in his mind. Solara's brilliant confidence, Luna's careful wisdom, Nova's passionate strength, and Vesper's calculating intelligence. They weren't overwhelming or invasive, simply there, like coming home to find lights already warming the rooms. This is intense, he managed. It will help, Solara promised, reaching across to touch his hand. Where their skin met, patterns of light danced between them. The Council must see us unified. Together, we are stronger than any individual challenge. And afterward, Marcus asked, finding it easier to voice his concerns through the empathic connection. What happens then? Then, Luna said with a gentle smile, we teach you to dance. Dance. The celestial ballet is traditional for new rulers, Nova explained, clearly enjoying his sudden spike of panic. It tells the story of unity between different peoples, performed before the entire court. Marcus looked hopefully at Raven, who raised her hands in surrender. Don't look at me, boss. I only know how to dance with plasma rifles. Speaking of weapons, Vesper interjected smoothly. Perhaps we should discuss the ceremonial armor you'll need for tomorrow's audience. The Council expects certain presentations. As his wives launched into a detailed discussion of protocols and traditions, Marcus found himself relaxing despite the overwhelming situation. Through the lingering effects of the Starfire wine, he could feel their genuine desire to help him succeed, their cautious hope for the future. And something else, something warming, the beginning of real affection. Maybe, just maybe, he could make this work. The council chamber hung suspended in space, a massive crystalline sphere orbiting the gas giant Helios Magnus. Marcus stood before the assembled elders, grateful for the ceremonial armor that hid his nervous sweat. The 12 figures before him seemed carved from living starlight, their ancient faces impassive as they reviewed his claim to leadership. Through the lingering empathic bond from the Starfire wine, he felt his wives' presence supporting him. Solara and Luna stood to his right, their silver skin gleaming, while Vesper and Nova flanked his left, their shadow-marked skin absorbing the starlight streaming through the crystal walls. The trial of ascension has not been won by an outsider in 10,000 cycles. The first elder's voice resonated through the chamber. Some question whether our laws should even apply to humans. Marcus felt Nova's flash of indignation through their bond, but before she could speak, he stepped forward. Your laws applied when you needed my mercenary company to protect your shipping lanes. They applied when Overlord Draxus demanded the trial. They can't stop applying just because you don't like the outcome." A murmur rippled through the council. The second elder leaned forward, her crystalline staff pulsing with energy. "You speak boldly for one so new to our ways." "I speak truthfully," Marcus countered, drawing on Solara's confidence through their connection. "Isn't that what your laws demand?" "And what of our traditions?" the third elder demanded. "Our customs, our ways. I have 4 of your most accomplished leaders as my wives and advisors." Marcus gestured to the women beside him. "I don't intend to change your ways. I intend to learn them, to honor them, and where possible, to improve upon them with the perspective of someone who sees them with fresh eyes." The chamber fell silent. Through the vast windows, the swirling storms of Helios Magnus painted patterns of purple and gold across the assembled figures. Finally, the first elder spoke again. "Show us," he commanded. "Show us this perspective." Marcus hadn't expected this opportunity so soon, but he was ready. He'd spent the night reviewing reports with his wives, each contributing their unique insights. "Your mercenary fleets are divided by species," he began, activating the chamber's holographic display. "Luminary ships never patrol with Shadokan vessels, despite their complementary capabilities. Draxus kept you separate, playing on ancient prejudices to maintain control." The display showed current patrol routes, a complex web of carefully separated flight paths. With a gesture, Marcus reorganized them, combining the routes. "Together, your forces would be twice as effective with half the fuel expenditure." The Luminary's light drive technology combined with Shadokin's stealth systems, "You'd be unstoppable." "Impossible," one elder scoffed. "The species cannot work together." "Really?" Marcus smiled, squeezing Solara's hand while reaching for Nova's. "Then I must be imagining the bonds I share with my wives. The trust we've built in mere days, the strength we found in our differences." Through their connection, he felt their surge of pride and support. The council shifted uncomfortably, but Marcus wasn't finished. "And it's not just about military efficiency. Your trading routes, your diplomatic missions, even your cultural exchanges, everything is segregated. You're half as strong as you could be because you refuse to truly unite. And you believe you can change thousands of years of separation." The second elder's tone was skeptical but not dismissive. "I believe I already have." Marcus gestured to his wives again. "Look at them. 2 luminary, 2 shadowkin, all working together, all part of something greater than themselves. And they're not just tolerating each other, they're thriving." The first elder raised his staff, light pulsing along its length. "Pretty words, but words alone are not enough. If you truly believe in unity, prove it. The celestial ballet awaits." Marcus had hoped they'd forget about that. Through the bond, he felt Luna's gentle amusement at his discomfort. The celestial ballet was more than just a dance. It was a ritual, a physical demonstration of harmony between different peoples. No ruler had ever attempted it with partners from both species. "Now," he asked, though he already knew the answer. "Now," the first elder confirmed. "Show us this unity you speak of." The chamber's center cleared, the floor shifting to create the traditional dance space. Marcus took his position, trying to remember everything his wives had taught him about the ritual. As the ancient music began to play, he felt their presences in his mind grow stronger. "Let us guide you," Solara's thoughts whispered through the bond. "Trust in what we built." The dance began, a complex weaving of light and shadow. Marcus moved with his wives, their bodies creating patterns that told the story of their peoples. Where tradition called for separation, they came together. Where the steps demanded division, they found unity. Light and shadow merged, separated, and merged again in new and beautiful ways. Through it all, Marcus felt their connection deepening. This wasn't just a performance, it was a revelation. Every movement, every gesture showed what was possible when artificial barriers fell away. The council watched in stunned silence as the dance reached its climax, all five of them moving as one being, light and shadow perfectly balanced. As the final notes faded, Marcus held his position, his wives arranged around him in a living sculpture of harmony. For a long moment, no one spoke. Then the first elder rose, his ancient face showing the first real emotion Marcus had seen. "Perhaps," he said slowly, "it is we who have something to learn from you." The approval of the council was unanimous, but Marcus barely heard their formal declarations. Through the bond, he was lost in the joy and triumph of his wives, their separate emotions merging into a symphony of celebration. Later, as they prepared to return to the celestial citadel, Raven met them in the docking bay, her expression impressed. "Not bad for a guy who used to trip over his own feet in bar fights," she said, "though I notice you didn't try any of your usual dance moves." "His usual dance moves?" Vesper asked, her constellation markings sparkling with interest. "Oh, you haven't seen his infamous drunk Martian shuffle yet?" Raven grinned wickedly. "I have videos." "That's enough," Marcus interrupted hastily. "Don't we have a fleet to reorganize?" His wives laughed, the sound harmonizing perfectly, light and shadow, silver and purple, old and new coming together in ways the council had never imagined possible. The warning came during what should have been a celebration. Marcus and his wives had spent 3 cycles implementing their integration policies, and the results were remarkable. The combined Luminary Shadowkin patrols had virtually eliminated piracy in the sector, while mixed-species trading crews reported record profits. Marcus stood at the viewport of the Celestial Citadel's command center, watching a joint fleet exercise when Raven burst in, her usual composure shattered. "We've got trouble," she announced, bypassing all ceremony. "Big trouble." Through the empathic bond, now stronger after weeks of sharing Starfire wine, Marcus felt his wives' immediate shift to alert focus. Solara and Nova moved to the tactical displays while Luna and Vesper began accessing intelligence networks. "Draxus?" Marcus asked, though he already suspected worse. "The Crimson Concordat," Raven confirmed, bringing up a holomap of the sector. "They're making their move." Marcus felt his blood run cold. The Crimson Concordat was a coalition of traditionalist warlords who opposed any change to the old ways. They'd been suspiciously quiet since his victory over Draxus. "How bad?" 6 battle fleets, Nova reported, her constellation markings pulsing with tactical data, all heading for key junction points in our trade routes. "They're trying to cut us off." "And that's not all," Solara added, her silver skin dimming with concern. "We're detecting quantum fluctuations consistent with their planet-killer weapons." Marcus moved to the central command table, his wives gathering around him. Through their bond, he could feel their individual reactions merging into a unified determination. "They're not just challenging my leadership," he realized. "They're trying to destroy everything we've built. The integration, the unity. They see it as a threat to their power." "The Crimson Concordat has always feared change," Luna observed, her gentle voice hardening. "But this is unprecedented. They're willing to destroy entire worlds to maintain the old divisions." "We've got another problem," Raven interrupted, checking her datavat. "Guess who's leading their fleet?" "Draxus," Vesper answered before Raven could continue. Her shadow-marked skin rippled with angry patterns. "He must have convinced them that your victory was somehow illegitimate." Marcus felt a spike of bitter amusement through the bond from Nova. "More likely he convinced them that a human ruling our systems is an abomination that must be purged." "How long do we have?" 2 hours before they reached the first junction point, Solara reported. "Our combined fleets can match their numbers, but those planet killers." Marcus studied the tactical display, drawing on centuries of accumulated military knowledge through his connection with his wives. The Crimson Concordat strategy was sound, hit hard and fast. Force a choice between defending the trade routes or protecting planetary populations. "We need to change the game," he said finally. "They're expecting us to either split our forces or abandon the outer colonies. so let's do neither. Through the bond, he felt his wives catch his intention even before he explained it. Their mixture of admiration and concern washed over him. It's risky, Vesper cautioned, though her tactical mind was already calculating probabilities. Everything about us is risky, Marcus replied with a grim smile. Raven, get to the Shadow Blade. I need you to coordinate with the stealth squadrons. The luminary light dry ships can match their speed, Solara added, understanding the plan. If we time it perfectly, we'll only get one chance, Nova warned, but her constellation markings were pulsing with battle readiness. Luna, usually the most reserved, stepped forward. The Council won't approve. This violates dozens of traditional combat protocols. Good thing I didn't summon the Council then, Marcus said. This is a military decision. And last I checked, I'm still commander of these fleets. Through their bond, he felt their complete support, their individual strengths combining into something greater than the sum of its parts. Solara's strategic brilliance, Nova's combat expertise, Vesper's analytical precision, and Luna's diplomatic insight, all focused on the coming battle. Besides, he added with a hint of his old mercenary humor, I thought you liked it when I broke with tradition. The plan came together quickly. While the Crimson Concordat expected them to react defensively, they would instead launch an unprecedented offensive. Luminary light dry ships would appear to retreat from the trade junctions, drawing the enemy fleet into pursuit. Meanwhile, Shadowkin vessels lying in stealth would execute a series of precision strikes against the planet killers. The key is timing, Marcus explained to the assembled fleet commanders, their holograms floating around the command table. The Concordat believes our species can't work together effectively. That's their weakness. And our strength, Solara added, her silver skin bright with purpose. As the commanders acknowledged their orders and vanished, Raven lingered. This could go really wrong, you know. If those planet killers get through. They won't, Marcus said with a confidence he didn't entirely feel. But through the bond, he drew strength from his wives' unwavering faith in him and in each other. The next 2 hours were a blur of preparation. Marcus coordinated from the Celestial Citadel, while Raven took command of the Shadow Blade, leading the stealth squadron. His wives worked seamlessly, each managing their area of expertise while maintaining their deep connection through the bond. As the first reports of enemy contact came in, Marcus felt a moment of perfect clarity. Whether they won or lost today, they would do it together. The Crimson Concordat thought they were defending tradition, but they were really fighting against the future, a future where artificial divisions fell away and strength came from unity rather than separation. All ships report ready, Nova announced, her voice steady. The Council is demanding an explanation for our fleet movements, Luna added, though her tone suggested the Council could keep demanding. Stealth squadron in position, Raven's hologram confirmed, ready to ruin someone's day. Marcus took a deep breath, feeling his wife's presence in his mind like stars guiding him home. Send the signal. Let's show them what real unity looks like. The battle unfolded like a deadly dance among the stars. Luminary ships blazed across space, their light drives leaving trails of quantum fire as they led the Crimson Concordat's forces on a precise path. Through the tactical displays, Marcus watched as Drax's fleet took the bait, their superior numbers spreading out to pursue what they thought were retreating defenders. They're approaching optimal position, Solara reported, her silver skin pulsing with tactical data. Confidence in their victory is making them careless. Through their empathic bond, Marcus felt the focused intensity of his wives, their combined consciousness creating a strategic awareness far beyond what any individual could achieve. Nova's battle instincts merged with Vesper's calculating precision, while Luna's intuition complemented Solara's tactical brilliance. Raven, Marcus commanded, is the stealth squadron ready? Just waiting for your signal, boss. Her hologram flickered with anticipation. Though I have to say, watching the mighty Drax's chase decoys is pretty entertaining. The command center of the Celestial Citadel hummed with energy as Marcus studied the battlefield. Everything hinged on precise timing. Too early, and the Concordat would realize the trap. Too late, and their planet killers would be in range of civilian worlds. Now, Marcus ordered, feeling his wife's approval surge through the bond. The space around the Concordat fleet suddenly bloomed with shadow as dozens of Shadokin vessels decloaked simultaneously. Before the enemy could react, precision strikes targeted their planet killers. Nova's battle strategies, refined through centuries of warfare, proved devastatingly effective. 3 planet killers disabled, Vesper reported, her constellation markings dancing with data. 2 more showing critical system failures. But Draxus hadn't become a warlord by being predictable. His flagship suddenly broke formation, accelerating on an impossible vector. Through their bond, Marcus felt Luna's flash of recognition. He's going to ram the celestial citadel, she realized. He'd rather destroy everything than admit defeat. Raven, intercept him, Marcus commanded, but they all knew the Shadow Blade was too far away. The Citadel's shields won't hold against a suicide run, Solara calculated grimly. We need to evacuate. No, Marcus said, an idea forming. We need to show them once and for all what unity really means. Are you with me? His wife's response came not in words but in feelings, absolute trust, unwavering support, and something deeper that had grown between them over their time together. Love, not born from duty or tradition, but from genuine understanding and respect. Divert all power to the quantum resonators, he ordered. Solara, Luna, prepare for a full-spectrum light burst. Nova, Vesper, I need a shadow field like nothing ever seen before. Understanding rippled through their bond. What he proposed had never been attempted. Combining luminary and Shadokin energy on such a scale could either save them or tear reality apart. The Council expressly forbids mixing our technologies this way, Luna noted, though her hands were already moving across the controls. Good thing they're not here then, Marcus grinned, feeling their shared excitement at breaking one last tradition. As Draxus's ship approached, trailing fire and destruction, the celestial citadel began to transform. Light and shadow swirled together in impossible patterns, guided by the combined will of 5 minds working as one. Through their bond, Marcus felt his wife's powers merging, centuries of separated knowledge finally uniting. 10 seconds to impact, Raven warned unnecessarily. Now, Marcus commanded. The citadel erupted with power. Light and shadow combined into something entirely new, a force that defied the old divisions. Draxus's ship hit the field, and simply stopped, held in a web of energy that shouldn't have been possible. Through the viewport, Marcus could see Draxus on his bridge, his expression visible even at this distance. The former warlord's face showed not anger or hatred, but wonder. Open a channel, Marcus ordered softly. When Draxus's image appeared on the command screen, he looked like a man seeing the sunrise for the first time. How? He asked simply. Because we stopped fighting who we are, Marcus answered, drawing his wife close. Light and shadow, luminary and shadowkin, human and alien. They were never meant to be separate. Real strength comes from unity. The battle ended not with more violence, but with understanding. The Crimson Concordat, witnessing the impossible made real, stood down. Ancient prejudices didn't disappear overnight, but they began to crack. In the cycles that followed, the changes Marcus and his wives had started spread throughout the sector. Mixed crews became the norm rather than the exception. The Council, impressed by the victory, began to revise laws that had kept the species separate for millennia. You've started quite a revolution, Raven observed months later, watching a luminary Shadowkin wedding ceremony from the Citadel's observation deck. Think they'll write songs about the human who changed everything. Marcus smiled, feeling the warm presence of his wives in his mind. Solara and Luna were teaching a new generation of leaders how to combine their people's strengths. Nova and Vesper were reorganizing the fleet into truly integrated units. Through their bond, He felt their contentment, their pride in what they'd built together. "Let them write whatever they want," he said. "We know the real story isn't about me. It's about us. All of us." Through the viewport, the triple suns of Helios Prime painted the sky in colors of gold and purple, light and shadow dancing together in perfect harmony. Just as it should be. Just as it always should have been. "Speaking of us," Solara's voice carried a hint of excitement as she and the other wives joined them on the deck. "We have something to tell you." Through their bond, Marcus felt it before they said it. New life. Tiny sparks of consciousness growing within each of them. The first children born of true unity, carrying the blood of all their peoples. "Well," Raven laughed, seeing his expression, "looks like the revolution's going to have a next generation." Marcus pulled his wives close, feeling their joy merge with his own. The future they'd fought for was just beginning, and it was more beautiful than any of them had imagined. "Let's hope they inherit their mother's grace," he said with a smile, "and not my dancing skills." Their laughter, 5 voices in perfect harmony, echoed through the citadel like music, like hope, like love.